After an action-packed day of racing at Circuit of the Americas, we line up and do it all over again. Welcome to Toyota GR Cup North America race number 2 from COTA. DJ Clark and Jonathan Grace up here in the commentary booth, ready to bring you along for the day. Let's take a look at the weather because, Jonathan, it is a little bit of a change from what we had yesterday.
Absolutely, DJ. A little bit more cloud cover here over this 3.4-mile road course here in Austin, Texas. Plenty of humidity, though, 82% out there. So it's going to be hot, it's going to be sticky, but not quite as hot ambient. And I think grip-wise, as we saw in qualifying this morning, the times fell pretty significantly. At 2:27.1, the pull time from Jeremy Fletcher, who you're seeing there, strapped inside his race car with the safety net up. A little shocker from the hands. He's ready to go on a weekend that's been good for him so far. So hot, but not as hot as yesterday, but the action on track was pretty hot, wasn't it?
Certainly was. Max Schweid, another driver who was able to take it right at the death of it. And talking of yesterday, we had a pretty exciting race. Let's take a look back at those highlights. Spike Kohlbecker fighting through the field. Jeremy Fletcher starting on pole. All the action up and down the grid was electric as the green flag flew and we got our way working into turn 1. Fletcher led from the downbeat. Kohlbecker had a lot of work to do as he fought his way up through the field. Early heartbreak for Liam Harrison, who found his way back and stopped, but after a restart, it was more attacks by Ethan Ayers this time on Fletcher. Kohlbecker working his way up as well.
Yeah, Jeremy Fletcher had a tough job at the front of the field, but he did it beautifully. He had plenty of reasons to give up the lead, did not relinquish it. He came away as your winner yesterday behind safety car. We'll get to that in a second. Spike Kohlbecker was in the worst. Max Schweid was doing a great job. He finished his way up the order just a little bit as he had to fight through the field. And then heartbreak for Max Schweid, an issue at the end. Will Robusto was climbing his way through the field, and as we went under yellow at the end, we saw fireworks. Robusto slowed down. It created a concertina effect, and Ethan Goulart ended up in the barriers after Beltre Curtis ran into the back of him.
Yeah, and penalties issued in yesterday's race. Those penalties being issued back out to Will Robusto and to Beltre Curtis, effectively dropping them to the back of the field. That's Ethan Ayers. You can see a little bit of damage on the side of the car, a little bit of how you doing, Mark. Garrett Maines in the 11th, a very impressive run yesterday for this young driver. A lot of us who are familiar with sim racing may recognize that name from top-tier competition. He did well. Parker DeLong, a little bit of a yo-yo day. He's going to be looking for better here. He'll roll off 6th.
Absolutely. Ethan Goulart as well.
Engines fire here as we continue to look down over the grid, back down into about 10th place position. That's Jensen Sofronis and Mike Edwards that you see, as well as Nico Colby. Jonathan, talk us through this gorgeous 3.4-mile circuit.
Opened its doors in 2012, designed by Herman Tilke. It's a who's who of corners. It's a really high climb, 134 feet up to turn 1. You descend the hill, you go down through the S's, reminiscent of Maggots and Beckett's. You start sector 2 and set up a tremendously long 1 kilometer, 0.62 mile straightaway into the best passing zone on the track in turn 12. A very technical sector 3, reminiscent of a lot of different great racing circuits. That beautiful carousel, my favorite part of the track, though, 17 and 18. It's a long multi-apex sequence before a quick 19 and 20. It's a long lap here at COTA, but plenty of opportunities to create passes.
Yeah, it just presents itself as an incredible circuit here in Austin, Texas. We've kind of rolled through a little bit of the grid, but we went out qualifying this morning to set everything together. Jeremy Fletcher was able to take that top position as he frankly needed to do here to be able to take the fight to Spike Kohlbecker. But some interesting runs up and down through the field. As we mentioned, Fletcher for Copeland Motorsports, and a great result here for Max Schweid, RVA graphics for him. Spike Kohlbecker lines up 3rd alongside Ethan Ayers for BSI Racing. Then it's Garrett Maines and Parker DeLong in row 3. Row 4 is Ethan Goulart and Will Robusto following that penalty yesterday. Nothing assessed today, so Robusto rolls off in 8th. Jensen Spronis will be 9th, followed by another Tech Sport Racing driver in the form of Malbec Ramos. Mike Edwards, Michael is when he's in trouble. It rolls off 11th, and then Nico Colby in 12th.
13th is Joseph Malley for Eagles Canyon. He'll have Ryan Power for company, one of the BSI racing drivers in the 865. Nathan Dupuy in 15th in the 041 as Beltre Curtis for company. He'll charge through the order likely from 16th on the grid. Liam Harrison, a troubled weekend for him, looking to make up ground from 17th. He has Emilio Delaro for company in the 007. 10th row of the grid sees Ava Schletz start in 19th with Massimo Sinceri, that car coming back from a fire on its way to the racetrack. Didn't have his efforts yesterday. Peyton May in 21st as Patrick Brunson. He's been super quick in that gold livery 93. Maite Caceres for Waco Racing starts 23rd with Carter Wilson in 24th. Andrew Gilliland is 25th on the 13th row of the grid with the 77 Alcir Arupo in 26th. Survived a tap with the wall yesterday to win in the Legends Cup. 27th is Jay Thomas, and Tom Rudnai brings up the rear of the field in 28th.
28 cars, 3.4 miles, and 45 minutes up on the clock. It is a recipe that can only bake the most exciting of cakes. This is what we come for Toyota GR Cup North America. These young drivers, these seasoned drivers, ready to ply their trade around a circuit such as this. We've got a little fun down the pit lane way. That's Ben, the Texas Longhorn, one of our friends that is here this weekend as Cielo Vision GT World Texas is here in full swing, the SR Rodeo, as we like to call it. All right, Jonathan, they're ready to come on in. What should I be watching for?
Max Schweid. Max Schweid is going to be hungry. He's going to come into race 2 with the chip on his shoulder. He was oh so close before it all went wrong, and he's got a great view from second on the grid.
He rolls off second. On the outside, that blue and white machine, the number 98. Keep an eye on him, but you can't take your eyes off the black and day glow number 22 of Jeremy Fletcher for Copeland Motorsports, who leads this field around. Out of turn 20, eyes turning towards the flag stand. Gotta wait until you get into the acceleration zone, but once they do, these Toyota GR Cup cars will take to speed. There goes the flag, and we go racing. It's a decent getaway there for Fletcher. Good run in behind for that number 3 machine of Spike Kohlbecker as he tries to fight a little bit on Max Schweid. Side by side, 3 wide through the field as Robusto tries to get aggressive. Big fan out back in the back of the pack, but up at the front of the field, the top 3 remain the same.
Robusto further afield will be looking to make up ground from 7th, already making moves. He was second in points coming into this weekend, took a big hit in the championship standings yesterday. He wants to make his way to the front. Good clean start, everyone navigating the opening sequence well as they go basically line to stern through the S's. Hard to go side by side, a couple drivers doing it, but Spike Kohlbecker, watch him and his progress from 3rd.
Nathan Dupuy and Beltre Curtis a little bit farther back in the field. We'll talk about Dupuy's livery later as it is pretty special, but up at the front of the field it is Fletcher leading the way. Schweid holding in behind. I think the closer battles are going to be Ayers, Maines, Robusto, that kind of area, unless Schweid is able to be very good on the binders, which he is. Closing up, passes farther back through the field. That's Nico Colby getting aggressive on Mike Edwards.
I love to see it. Nico Colby had to play a lot of good defense yesterday, now going offensive and starting to show some strength in what's his debut professional weekend. Just 14 years old, doesn't seem to phase him. He was really strong.
Now he's looking aggressive on the back of Max Schweid, coming down this nearly 0.6 of a mile, 1 kilometer straightaway, side by side between Kohlbecker and Schweid. Kohlbecker has the preferred line. Schweid tries to hang around the outside, but can't quite do it. Ethan Ayers now looking to look up some pieces. Garrett Maines, Will Robusto, side by side. That's the battle for P5.
Tough to hang it around the outside here, DJ. You can get creative with the racing lines. We saw that yesterday, but Will Robusto unwilling to relinquish yet, and now tucks back in behind Maines. Maines was carrying a little damage from qualifying earlier. That seems to be all fixed and hasn't hampered his pace. Certainly didn't earlier this morning, but he's got Will Robusto and that RVA car all over the back of him through the stadium section.
Almost 4-wheel drifting down through the carousel section of 17 and 18, but the drivers keeping it together. Ethan Ayers on the back of Max Schweid right now. That looks to be the main battle that is starting to take place. Kohlbecker still needs a little bit to try to close in on Jeremy Fletcher. Robusto trying again on Garrett Maines. This time into turn 20, Robusto gets it done.
Spike Kohlbecker further up the field was the fastest fastest driver in the second sector of this racetrack. But Jeremy Fletcher, you can see it on your screen, did a good job. And now Robusto, the cork in the bottle, has Goulart, who's hungry. Ethan Goulart was in the wall just a couple hours ago yesterday. He's trying to make a move up the inside.
Parker DeLong trying to follow him on through, moves behind from Jensen Sofronis. Robusto holds onto that position. That is going to be Goulart that is able to hold on to what will be P6. Main slots into P7, Parker DeLong in P8.
Ethan Goulart now tucks in behind Will Robusto. Little bit of space, can't really make a move through the S's, but watch and see if Ethan gets crafty through the hill section that we see turn 9 through 11 as you set up for that straightaway. Sofronis already having a good race mid-pack. He's up inside the top 10. He's been impressive this season. Here's Max Schweid, who goes just a little bit wide. Is he going to have Ethan Ayers for company?
He certainly might. Had a chance to talk to Ethan at the end of the race yesterday. We heard the interview from Amanda, and he said all of his success, especially after following the fire that BSI suffered on the way to the track, it is all a testament to the team that BSI has put together.
Yeah, that fire happening just about 10 minutes from their shop in Florida. They had to unload 3 race cars on the side of the highway. Volusia County firefighters able to help them put that fire out, but the hauler suffering significant damage, might even be a total loss, but they were able to save all the race cars. The 51 Massimo Sinceri suffering some fire damage, but it was back and didn't seem to lose any performance because of it. Certainly not throughout practice qualifying in the race yesterday. Looks as strong as ever here today.
Yeah, kind of joked with me, did Ethan. He said it almost brought us together a little bit more. Kind of a team building experience, I think is the words that he used. Kohlbecker not quite able to close in on the back here of Jeremy Fletcher as much as I would think he would. That main battle, I think, now going to start to fire off P3 between Schweid, Ayers, Robusto.
DeLong and Maines doing battle further back. Maines just holding DeLong a little bit. You mentioned kind of a yo-yo day for the 42 yesterday. Running strong right now inside the top 10. Nico Colby continues to make words as Edwards further back loses a couple positions. But Garrett Maines has the 42 all over the back of him. We've seen some moves in this third section of the racetrack. Not typically a place to make moves, but you can get really creative in these GR Cup cars.
Well, that's exactly what we saw Robusto do on that previous lap. Now a move to the inside. That's 10th place Malbec Ramos looking to the inside of Jensen Sofronis, just able to avoid contact. And now it's going to be a drag race, almost rubbing door mirrors, now almost rubbing tires down the front straightaway. Ramos to your right, Sofronis to the left. Ramos starts to edge ahead here a little bit. Nico Colby picks a lane, picks that outside behind Sofronis, tried to give him a little bit of a shot to give him more speed, but doesn't help. Tech Sport gets one over on Copeland.
Yeah, good composure by Sofronis. Actually did a good job of avoiding those exit curbs in turn 20 and then survived a little tap, which you're allowed to do from Colby. And now Beltray Curtis has entered this conversation. This is going to get really interesting into turn 9.
Yeah, Curtis was something to prove from yesterday, obviously with that big penalty sending him down in the order, but Malbec Ramos starting to pull away here a little bit from Jensen Sofronis. This is that battle back for P7. Garrett Maines in the white and blue, Parker DeLong in the white and orange.
Maines holding firm at the moment, but I'm curious how quickly this battle behind with Malbec Ramos, if he can take Sofronis with him, is going to start to catch that pack just ahead.
Nico Colby chasing down Jensen Sofronis. This young 14-year-old and a very impressive debut. And yes, folks, you did hear me say that. This is a young man who is not even in high school yet.
Well, Sofronis as well, another really talented teenager who's learned from his father in the GMG camp, has done a lot of good work, was on the grid last year, plenty active across the SRO paddock, is trying to do battle this year in GR Cup. It's done a great job, a couple really solid top 10, top 5 finishes for the driver in that beautiful blue Mobil 1 liveried car run by Copeland Motorsports. I think Jensen's going to be one to watch. He closes up in the braking zone, but around the outside goes the number 16. Nico Colby's hungry. Can he keep it in track limits? There's a switchback from Curtis. It's going to be 3 wide.
Michael Edwards getting interested in that. Is Mike Edwards getting interested in that as well? Colby down to the inside, kind of shuffles Sofronis out of the way. Sofronis going to lose 2, maybe even 3 positions here. Tries to fight back on Colby, gets the nose down to the inside into turn number 15. This is some hairy stuff as they now go Noah's Ark into the carousel.
Yeah, really hard to run side by side here because the marble buildup is so high and it gets like ice when you get out onto those tire marbles. These Continental tires screech cruising through a really high load section of the racetrack. Everyone sorts it out into the braking zone. No contact made, but tight as ever as they end this lap.
A little bit of momentum here for Mike Edwards. Colby poking and prodding. Everybody decides to stay in line into turn 20. Let's see if that stays the case down the main straightaway. Malbec Ramos leading this group for P9. They've got a big gap in front of them, though, up to Parker DeLong. They've got to sort themselves out if they want to be involved in this battle for the top 10.
Yeah, this is where you can't afford to fight. Go with everybody in a train, just muscle it out for a few laps, and then you can start to make moves. But Safronis on Nico Colby right away. Flames spinning out of the back of that Copeland machine. Copeland on Copeland. Don't hit your teammates side by side as they go down through turn 2. Someone's going to have to yield, and Beltray Curtis is behind.
And I thought for a second there Safronis was going to have to, but he's going to hold it strong into turn 3. They're still side by side, and finally Jensen Safronis has to give up the ghost.
Wow, you don't often go wheel to wheel through 3, but they made it work in GR Cup. Part of the reason these Cup cars are so fun is because you can really flick them around in any part of the racetrack. Further up, Spike Kohlbecker now feeling some pressure from a hungry Max Schweid, eager for some revenge from an issue yesterday that prevented and hampered a huge comeback effort for him. Your points leader in Spike Kohlbecker, though, still not quite within touching distance of Jeremy Fletcher yet, but Max Schweid is the fastest man on track at 2:28.4 last time by.
Yeah, and I think he needed that little bit of a bounce back, and crucially here for Schweid and Kohlbecker, they have dropped Ethan Ayers to the tune of about a second or so, so they've got some room to battle by themselves if they would choose to. It'll cost them time up to Fletcher, but if Schweid thinks he's got the speed to get Bass by, he can do it.
Further back, Will Robusto trying to make a move. He's feeling pressure from Ethan Goulart behind. And now Robusto to the inside, a little bit squirrely in the braking zone. Goulart just behind, trying to make the move. Robusto stays in front as they continue to charge up and try to catch the 78 of Ethan Ayers. Penalties being applied.
And that is car number 41 and 16. That is Parker, 41 is Jensen Safronis, and the 16 is Nico Colby. Those were two of the drivers that we were following in that battle earlier. A 3-second time penalty for track limits.
Oh boy, so easy to go beyond the track limits here at the Circuit of the Americas. So many corners that just tempt you to the outside and beckon you to go over the curbs a little bit too much in the painted area. Pretty generous with how they've been policed, but either way, it's something that we've seen a lot this weekend in every category.
And also a penalty issued to Patrick Brunson, a multiple track limits violation of 3 seconds. That is Jensen Safronis, the number 41. If things were to finish the way they are right now, Safronis would drop roughly to about 17th or 18th position. And let's remind you, we still have 35 minutes left to go in this race.
Well, and DJ, we saw how these time penalties, even 3 seconds, could have larger implications if you don't act on them in the right way. We saw it even under yellow as we took to the checkered flag yesterday.
Yeah, Malbec Ramos, really defensive line on Nico Colby, trying to keep him behind. Safronis, though, that's another track limit violation right there. He's got to be careful. He can accrue these and get a drive-through if he's not careful.
Yeah, that could really ruin your race. He's got so much pressure right now from Beltray Curtis behind, and we know how quick Beltray can be. He's all over the back of the Copeland driver. Meanwhile, further up, here's Will Robusto. He has caught Ethan Ayers, and he's trying to make a move. He's not wasting any time up the hill.
No, he's not. Goes around the outside of turn 8. That'll set him up for the inside of turn 9 if he can get it woed back up. But hops and skips over the curb, costs him time. And here comes Goulart.
The not-so-turn 10, able to slingshot around the outside. It's going to get him ahead to the braking zone. Shades just inside, pops back to the racing line. Wisely done. You don't want to compromise your exit down this really, really long back straightaway. Ethan Goulart maintains position, but Will Robusto continuing to kind of stagnate in this race. Hasn't really made as much of an impression as he would have liked to moving up the order.
Yeah, he's only up 2 spots right now. And, you know, we often talk about this when really fast drivers have a bad qualifying session or at the back of the grid, they often find themselves able to really make some impressive headlines. But there comes a certain point as Robusto tries to dive down to the inside of Goulart at the last minute. Doesn't quite get it. They make headlines by working their way forward, but there does come a certain point where you stagnate. When you come up against the drivers that are very similar, more penalties being issued. That's the 86, the 812, and the 86 and the 812. That's Mate Caceres as well as Andrew Gilliland, and then a big one there for the number 93. That's Patrick Brunson, 10 seconds for multiple track violations.
No, and that's got implications too, because down in 23rd place, he's leading the WEX Group Legends Cup at the moment. We know how quick he is and how quick he has been. And look at the streets of Arlington and the phenomenal weekend he had there.
Yeah, exactly. As we watch Robusto, though, notice on the right rear of that car, the fender just peeled out a little bit. It's not nearly as bad as we saw in some of the racing over the weekend, particularly thinking in TC America, powered by Skip Barber, but definitely can be a little bit of a parachute down the straightaways and create some unwanted drag.
These cars are pretty robust, but these are effectively road car body panels on these cars. If they peel off, that can really start to cause issues for you. And the thing you have to worry about is Jensen Sofronis dives to the inside to try to defend for Beltre Curtis, who wants to make a move around the outside of one, has to give way, could open the door for some of the competitors behind. And now they start to train their way down towards turn 3. But DJ, that loose bodywork can cause the attention of the race stewards, and the last thing you want to do is have to dive to pit lane to take care of that, because that completely will throw away a good result.
Yeah, you do not want to get assessed what we call a meatball flag, which is the black flag with an orange circle in it, which means you have such grievous technical problems, mechanical problems, that you are a danger to those around you. This is the battle for 11th that we watch right now. Sofronis, Curtis, and Mike Edwards. Also holding in behind that, Joseph Malley and Nathan Dupuis. Checking back up on the battle for Will Robusto as he moved his way past Ethan Goulart. That gets Robusto a top 5.
Yeah, Robusto now can try to set his sights on the top 4. Ethan Ayers will be the next car for BSI Racing that he'll have in his crosshairs, but Goulart I don't think is done with him. You can see Robusto moving all around the racing line, moving to the inside of the racetrack down this long straightaway, trying to interrupt that slipstream. Goulart pops to the inside, now pops back, thinks better of it. He's going to try to get creative, maybe in sector 3, but doesn't quite have a close enough of a gap to make the move into 12.
Yeah, and I think for Robusto, the fact that he did not respond to that shows me that he is locked in. He's not looking behind him. He is full focus forward, not responding to any threats that Goulart might have tried to throw his way.
Meanwhile, Garrett Maines all over the back of the 42, who's gotten past a couple laps ago. But still, those two have hung together, and now they've caught the back end of the 72 car.
All right, as they work their way through the carousel right now, DeLong, again, one of those drivers that will be suffering from that post-race penalty. We will get that information assessed as we watch Jeremy Fletcher with the fastest lap of the race, but going off track there at the exit of turn 19. We should probably clarify, by the way, there's another one, what these track limits are, Jonathan.
Yeah, exactly. It's that outside white line. You can see there's a couple of them, and in some cases the painted surfaces and the white lines therein. Race control and race stewards have been pretty generous with how they've policed track limits here, but either way, you cannot go afoul of them, and there is a 10-second post-race time penalty. You saw it on screen earlier, DJ. That's for Sofronis.
Yeah, that's going to really plummet him down the order, certainly out of the points. And yeah, as you said, it's that second white line. If you get all 4 tires over that second white line, that is considered off track. And we did say it, Jensen Sofronis suffering from that 10-second penalty, still not even half distance though, Jonathan. This could be rough if this continues.
It's so tough to do too when you have your mirrors full of another car. You're trying to defend, you're trying to attack. You have 5 or 6 cars around you, as you often do in GR Cup. I mean, I think right now with Spike Kohlbecker and all the mental energy that's going to A, keeping the car on the racetrack, B, going quickly around a lap and completing all of your inputs smoothly, and C, trying to defend from a very quick Max Schwein behind.
Exactly, and trying to do that. So it just shows how good Spike Kohlbecker is, but we've got to look at this battle a little farther back, as Will Robusto has been able to catch Ethan Ayers in that number 78 machine for BSI Racing. A little bit squirrely there for Ayers coming off of turn 11. Robusto following him down the back straightaway as Ayers veers and fades to the left.
Yeah, Will Robusto's best lap is about 4/10 better than Ethan Ayers, so he is really, really quick, and they're all glued together nearly up in the wall. That's really aggressive defense from Ethan Ayers. Will Robusto, body panel flapping on the back end of that race car, dives to the inside, late on the brakes. Ethan Ayers is a little bit later, though, and they're going to be door to door as they go into the off-track action, off-track area of turn 12. Ayers still to the inside, Robusto still to the outside, and DJ more penalties going in as Ethan finally shuts the door.
That's Jeremy Fletcher. That is your leader, a 3-second post-race time penalty, and that would effectively drop him back down into third position. Track limits becoming the story of the race thus far.
Yeah, that's a huge one. And now if you're Jeremy Fletcher, it's got to be head down. You can see how squirrely he is in the braking zone. He'll have been relayed that information, and now it becomes a time attack battle between him and Spike Kohlbecker.
Kohlbecker's only a second and a half behind him. Schweid 1.9. That's legal. You saw that those tires were touching the white line. Jonathan, you made the analogy yesterday. It's like tennis. On the line is legal.
Yeah, but that was barely there. You only have to have a little bit of Continental rubber touching that white line, and he did there, but you have to be so careful, especially to not garner any more penalties.
All right, we keep looking at that battle now between Ayers and Robusto as it doesn't seem to go anywhere. Robusto with a big late move down to the inside of turn 1. Hops over the curb there, little bit of hip and shoulder as they come through 1, and down the hill they come again. Ayers will have the preferred line. Robusto trying to hold steady. He's going to poke his nose into turn 3. If he can keep it there, he may have the preferred line. Ayers gets very slidey. They're still too wide, and Robusto trying to be able to hold on to it. Parker DeLong trying to get involved with this as well. How Robusto didn't make contact with one of those inside barriers, I'll never know.
Robusto will be on the radio saying that the 78 went all 4 wheels off the track and then gained the position back through the S's, but he's hanging with them up the hill to now towards turn 8 and turn 9. This is going to get interesting towards 11 because a 2-car battle has become a 4-car fight.
Yes, it has. DeLong and Maines being brought into it. Garrett Maines now looking for it. You see the big movers of the race. Jay Thomas, the number 70, the best one, as Maines now takes a look to the inside of Parker DeLong and gets it done. Nicely executed move for the number 11, planting that car on apex.
Ethan Ayers still trying to break the slipstream. These two went all the way to the wall, and they're going to do it again. Robusto tailing on the back of him. You'd think it was a super speedway race the way they're snaking around. Meanwhile, front of the field, the 98 slipping past Spike Kohlbecker.
And remember, this is for the lead of the race. Liam Harrison, another one that has just been assessed a 3-second time penalty. This is effectively for the lead of the race, with Fletcher serving that 3-second post-race time penalty. So Schweid over into P2 above Kohlbecker. He will now try to close down on Jeremy Fletcher.
Jeremy Fletcher's still the fastest man on track, but Max Schweid is coming. He set the fastest second sector, and this might be a really strong lap from him because it is nip and tuck time-wise between him and the race leader.
But the problem is that battling side by side through the stadium section has allowed for Fletcher to escape 2 seconds up the road. Remember, it's a 3-second time penalty, so the margin's getting a little smaller here.
Yeah, best possible thing for Jeremy Fletcher right now, continuing to chip away at the lap time, but also letting these two scrap behind, because you're right, DJ, all that's going to do is cost them time. Both of these drivers could benefit. Both of these drivers could win this race on time when they cross the checkered flag, but they need to keep it clean.
Kohlbecker looking slightly to the inside, but he's going to follow behind Schweid. Yeah, I think this is the time for these two to work together. Maybe give a little bit of a bump down that back straightaway. Schweid's got to be careful. That looked like an off track as well. Farther back down in the battle, this is Ryan Power. The 865 has been told to reorder, as I can only assume that he shortcut some corners. And so race control being very on top of it, is now here we go side by side. That's Harrison. That's the 865 that we just mentioned of Ryan Power. Power off to the outside. Still side by side as Schlitz tries to be able to make things work at the 85 as well.
Yeah, 3 wide on exit. Now they tuck back in order as they hit the S's, but the 865, such a tough thing to do, being told to reorder in the middle of this huge pack of cars. Where do you slot back in? It can be so hard. Meanwhile, back at the front of the field, effectively a race for the net lead. Spike Kohlbecker goes through on the inside.
Yeah, but if they keep this up, it's not going to be the lead. The gap has grown up to 2.4. So what we just saw, by the way, that was actually the 865 of Power reordered himself and then immediately took the position back. So a little bit of back and forth, a little bit of gamesmanship, but a little bit of great racing here between Kohlbecker and Schweid for P2.
Yeah, they have to be careful, though, like you said, not to lose too much time. They have gone back and forth and back again. It's going to be the 98 Max Schweid. Kohlbecker might have braked just a little bit later, but Schweid stronger in that second phase of braking. He'll shut the door.
And Schweid now with only only 2.7 seconds up to Jeremy Fletcher. That is a net lead of 0.3 of a second for Schweid. He has got to be thinking, don't fight me here, Spike. It's almost like when you're karting and you tap the back of your helmet to say, hey, give me a push, let's work together. That's what Max has got to be doing behind the wheel.
Jeremy Fletcher, though, has responded. A personal best in the second sector, 57.1.
Here comes that 78 machine of Ethan Ayres, not able to get it, and they'll fall back into single file line once more.
Good defensive placement from Maines, goes a little bit wide, opens the door, swooping inside is Ethan Ayres.
Ethan Ayres has the position, but does Maines have just enough of a crossover to be able to hold this position through the carousel? Yes, he does, and that's going to put Ayres on the back foot. Tries to do what we saw Spike Kohlbecker do a little bit earlier in the race, and he can get it done. Ethan Ayres to the inside of 19.
Yeah, but here we go. That was such an incredibly shallow line into 16, 17, and 18. You don't often see cars run that to the inside, but it worked. He had enough grip to do it and got the position, did the 78 of Ethan Ayres.
And meanwhile, farther up front in that battle, Will Robusto and Parker DeLong look like they're about on top of each other. Nico Colby could make a move on Garrett Maines as well. Let's see for Robusto. Does he poke to the inside? He thinks about it, a little bit of a fade. Goes for it here on DeLong into turn one with under 10 minutes to go.
Late move, sprung the trap, and it worked a treat. Parker DeLong didn't even see him coming.
No, he did not. That was a brilliant late braking maneuver from Will Robusto, which will move him up to fourth place.
So Robusto now can set his sights on trying to catch Ethan Ayres a little bit further up the road, as he's already drawn about a 2-car length gap on the 42 behind.
Yeah, but Robusto's got about 11 seconds to try to make up in 9 minutes. That may be a little bit too little too late for him, but an impressive run for Robusto nonetheless.
You just got to tick away the laps. Do what you can, maximize results, especially after losing so much ground in the final results once all the penalties were applied yesterday. Will Robusto, bar that little bit of fender hanging off the back, has kept it clean. You want to take home the maximum amount of points you can, even if you're not the fastest car on the racetrack.
Exactly, and I think especially after a day like yesterday where you did fall afoul of the stewards, having a relatively clear and clean day makes things a lot better, and it makes you feel more comfortable. Defensive line for Spike Kohlbecker coming down the back straightaway. This battle for P2, I don't think this is over yet between Kohlbecker and Schweid.
No, it's absolutely not. It's certainly not helping them catch Jeremy Fletcher, who's now more than 7.5 seconds to the good, but these two have stayed absolutely glued together. Again, their fastest racing laps within 1,000th of one another. Spike Kohlbecker, who leads the overall championship standings right now, has Max Schweid for company, and Schweid is in the championship hunt as well.
Yes, he is, although, here comes Ethan Ayres on Garrett Maines. Maybe a little bit of consternation coming down into turn number 12, but that's going to be Ayres able to hold the position over Garrett Maines. A nice defense for your tech sport driver or your BSI driver, excuse me, in the number 78.
See what Ethan Ayres learned from a lap ago in terms of defense. Does he cut off that shallower line? No, he stays way wide to the outside and then patient, tucks the nose in for that apex of turn 18. And a huge gaggle of cars. Jensen Sofronis among them further back in the field, side by side, even 3 wide. It's the 007 of Arojo on the outside, and Sofronis trying to hold that inside line through the stadium section of the racetrack. That's inside the top 10. These are points-paying positions. Nico Colby involved as well, loses a couple places, but Jensen Sofronis battling it out with a whole gaggle of cars as well. That's Nathan Dupuis in the mix as well.
Yes, he is, and I want to give a shout out to Nathan Dupuis for Copeland Motorsports. He is running this weekend with a special livery in celebration of Autism Awareness Month. This is a project that is very, very special and near and dear to his heart. It has affected his family, and throughout the weekend it will feature a multicolored puzzle that shows support for Autism Awareness Month. So massive credit there to Nathan for running that, and we love seeing that kind of crossover here in the world of motorsport.
Dupuis has to tuck back in the order, and Mike Edwards in the mix as well. Third in this train, Emilio De Lauro in the 007. Sofronis now leads this pack after it was 2 sets of 2 cars going 2 by 2 into turn 1. And now Sofronis leads this train, but I think it's going to be Dupuis under pressure for the 21 behind. And Sofronis has a big wiggle, collects it. Good job there. Good car control from the driver of the 41, but still just a little bit unstable. And now there's contact. Dupuis getting shoved wide.
That was Mike Edwards down to his inside. That was all precipitated by Dupuis getting a little bit sideways coming through the S's, and just Edwards left with nowhere to go. Dupuis, though, is going to have to try to gain back up here, up into about 15th position. Meanwhile, the 007 of Delario has been able to get the position away from Edwards for the moment. Edwards fighting back. Now Edwards has it.
Yeah, Edwards going to take the shallower line, maybe that more traditional racing line through turn 12. It's going to be a drag race with Delauro in the 007 into the braking zone of 12, but he got the better run. We look further up the field, moving this way, moving that way. For the overall 10th position, that is Beltray Curtis in the number 5. You can see from the side pod that car has been through the war. Somehow both cars keeping it on track. He's fighting with Malbec Ramos.
This is for P9. Is Beltray Curtis trying to fight his way ahead? Ramos down to the inside. It will become the outside for the next couple of corners. That's Joseph Malley watching behind, and it looks like there Beltray is able to hold on to that position. We've got 5 minutes and 15 seconds left to go in this race, Jonathan, and you can feel it. It is starting to ratchet up, is the intensity.
What everyone has to be careful of is keeping within track limits. We haven't seen any penalties come through of note in the last couple of minutes. Beltray Curtis, a huge hip and shoulder with Malbec Ramos, knocking some bodywork off. And this is going to bring the 12 into the equation as well of Joseph Malley. Curtis still holds the advantage, but not afraid to trade a little paint here in the final sector of this lap.
One of my favorite signs that a car has been through the wars here, and it shows you just how factory room floor these cars are. The wing mirror on Malbec Ramos's left-hand side is folded in as it would be on the stock machine. Great to see.
Yeah, not a racing feature. It's so that you don't scratch it in a parking garage.
Yep.
Straight off the road car, but I love it.
It is. There, Joseph Malley able to get that pass done by Malbec Ramos. Now he's going to set his sights on Beltray Curtis up for P9 as they get their way into the S's. I've got to say, Malley's livery here, very traditional, but really nice use of color. I like this livery.
Yeah, it looks absolutely phenomenal. It's easy to spot for Eagles Canyon with Fast Track, a huge amount of cars that they have under their stable, trying to make their way up past Beltray Curtis and Copeland. It's Copeland cars that run 8th, 9th, and 10th at the moment, and 1 at the head of the field. Here's RVA Graphics Will Robusto, though, who continues to lead from the 42. DeLong hasn't gone anywhere.
No, I would have thought that Robusto could have scampered away with this. I wonder if he's used up a little bit of his stuff here, because Parker DeLong is just on him.
Yeah, Will Robusto not able to make up the ground we thought he was going to be able to. Up into 4th. DeLong might be a little bit too far back to try to make a move, although he's drawing closer in the slipstream, but both tucked into the racing line. A little bit of debris being blown off of the racing surface, both keeping it within track limits. And that rear fender that we saw hanging off, not causing too much of an issue. We can look at the race vision powered by AWS and the circuit comparison and who has been fastest. Will Robusto owns the fastest times in Sector 1 and Sector 2, but it's the 98 of Max Schwein who's faster in that technical Sector 3.
Well, to your point about that piece of fender not affecting him, that is the Sector 1 and Sector 2 are the areas that have the 2 longest straightaways. It's where you're at VMAX. So if he is fastest through those 2 areas, clearly that piece of fender not affecting the car.
Drawing just about a car length advantage over DeLong in the ebb and flow through the lap, hard on the brakes, but so smooth is Robusto. As we check back in with our race leader, still a pretty significant gap for him, now up to 8.2 seconds.
I believe it is 2 to go, or was 2 to go at the line for the Copeland Motorsports driver. It will be white flag this time around, and with a gap of 8.2 seconds over the rest of the field, that 3-second penalty that Jeremy accrued for exceeding track limits is essentially negated. He will, if he is able to come to the end of this, be the victor of this race.
Yeah, and how long must he have been sweating under the collar, seeing that gap around 1 second, around 2 seconds, around 3 seconds, and then finally just ticking away some really good lap times. A really good effort from him, a best lap of a 2:28.1. Really nice job.
Yeah, very nice indeed. And you know, we were talking a little bit earlier about Spike Kohlbecker and his car control and how that car looks. This from Jeremy Fletcher looks about as smooth as you can drive one of these GR86 Cup cars.
He told Amanda yesterday his mission coming into this weekend after a lackluster Sonoma that went away from him, his job was to come in and win every session. He wanted to win in practice, he wanted to qualify on pole, he wanted to win as much as he could. Won yesterday, good chance to do it again today.
He certainly does have a good chance. About a lap and a half left to go. All right, we're hearing reports that it may be 13 seconds of penalty for Jeremy Fletcher. We'll go back and try to double check that for you.
That's correct.
If that is correct. All right, it has been changed during that update that we had a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
So 13 seconds. That means, folks, the battle for the lead is right here between Spike Kohlbecker and Max Schwein.
Yeah, 13 total seconds, a second 10-second time penalty being applied. You saw him go wide earlier in the race. So this is it. Spike Kohlbecker, your points leader. Oh, and you feel for Jeremy Fletcher as well. Did everything he could to build that gap, and not enough time to get clear of that 13 seconds. But Spike Kohlbecker has just got a little bit of a gap on Max Schweid behind.
Yes, he does. This will be an emotional podium for Max Schweid, though. Obviously, he's going to want that win. He's going to want to get his way forward, and you see the way he's wrestling the car. He's certainly not done yet. Great run through turn 19. This battle is not yet over. White flag in the air. 1 lap to go for Kohlbecker and Schweid and for Jeremy Fletcher. But as we previously stated, 13-second penalty has been issued for Jeremy Fletcher. He is going to finish P3 if things end the way they stand now.
Yeah, it's that first 3-second penalty and then a subsequent 10-second penalty that compounded. Kohlbecker has been warned but has not been penalized for track limits so far.
All right, here is Schweid trying to be able to get his way forward. He's trying to see if he can get a pass done here. Not going to be able to get it done through the S's. Not going to be able to get a move there, but he can certainly set it up. Runs a little bit wide there, unfortunately, coming through turn 5.
Yeah, look at Max Schweid, just a little bit out of sorts. Kohlbecker looks absolutely dialed. Not the fastest man on the racetrack, but really not far off. Just 2/10 off of Fletcher's fastest time at the front of this field. Kohlbecker, who might cross the finish line second, will, as it stands, win the race because of those 2 time penalties that have been applied to the man who sits at the front of Jeremy Fletcher. But Spike Kohlbecker, in a weekend where Jeremy Fletcher has been the fastest car on track, Kohlbecker is doing everything right.
He's doing everything right. Car 22.
There it is. There's the confirmation.
Oh, and we're hearing that is in addition to what he's already got. Disaster for Jeremy Fletcher. This could bump him all the way down into further down positions, but we've got to keep our eye here on the battle between. It's 10 plus 3. Okay, so it will be third for Jeremy Fletcher, but we've got to keep our eyes on the battle between Kohlbecker and Schweid. I don't think this is over yet. Schweid is poking and prodding. He's trying to find a way by.
No, they've been so close throughout the whole lap, and he knows this is his final opportunity. Couple corners left, and you can spring a trap late in Sector 3.
Yes, you can. Schweid's closer than he's been in a while. He's going to take the outside lane, try to maybe cut a little more narrow coming through the exit of the carousel. It's about a car length and a half difference in between Kohlbecker and Schweid as they come down into turn 19. Kohlbecker keeping him at bay for now. Schweid takes a little bit of a narrower line. Does he have anything? It's less than a car length coming into turn 20. Kohlbecker very defensive. Schweid on his rear bumper trying to hold it out, looking for a little bit of an opportunity. They're going to be almost side by side. They will be side by side as they cross. It is the merest of gaps. It is only 0.18 seconds in between Kohlbecker and Schweid, but Kohlbecker will take victory.
Spike Kohlbecker, your points leader this season, and a fitting victory for him, but it's not over yet. Nico Colby with the drag race further back. He will cross the line. A valiant effort for him to finish just behind Ethan Ayers in 7th on a debut weekend. A great couple of results for him, but Spike Kohlbecker fending off a pressuring Max Schweid. Jeremy Fletcher with those 13 cumulative seconds from 2 different time penalties for track limits slots down to 3rd. Good haul of points, but he finishes in front of Will Robusto. And the 42 of Parker DeLong, what a great climb up through the order for him, and Ethan Ayers in 6th.
Yeah, very good. This is Mate Caceres there in that 8-12. Oh, big piece hanging off the back there of Patrick Brunson. We didn't see where that came from, but it was certainly some damage on that beautifully wrapped gold machine.
Yeah, and he'll win in the Legends Cup as well. He's been the man to beat in that category.
Yes, he will, as Brunson will take home the WEX Group Legends Cup, and I believe, unless I am greatly mistaken, it is Mate Caceres that will take the Endava highest finishing female.
Yeah, 19th inside the top 20, really solid overall, but man, what a result for Spike Kohlbecker. His 4th win of this season, and it's still early in the year relatively, DJ.
And you know what, I've got to say, credit to Spike on this. We've seen some races where drivers have just absolutely blitzed off into the distance, kind of like we saw Jeremy Fletcher do today, whether that was Weston Workman, whether that was Tyler Gonzalez, whether that was Gresham Wagner. Spike had to fight for this.
Yes, he did.
He really and truly did. All right. We are going to take a look here at Jeremy Fletcher. We think he has been picking up these penalties for off-track going through the final corner. That's turn 20 on the circuit. So let's take a look. Jonathan, this is him coming down through here.
Set up nice and wide. You dip the nose, and it's a corner that falls away from you, and it can be so easy to apply all four wheels clearly outside the white lines. That's a very clear penalty. That is exactly what you get penalties for if you do that repetitiously throughout the course of a race. He did it too many times, got two different penalties, one for 3 seconds, one for 10 seconds. That made the difference.
All right, Spike Kohlbecker on the victory lap, having a good run, 4 wins on the season. Tech Sport Racing going to be celebrating tonight. Max Schweid, a great run for the RVA Graphics Motorsport driver. Jeremy Fletcher with that penalty ends up in P3. Robusto, great fight up through the field into P4. Then Parker DeLong, Ethan Ayers, Nico Colby, again, very impressive on this young 14-year-old's debut.
Yeah, really, really impressive. He had a lot of battling to do with Garrett Maines and Beltre Curtis. Those two were busy inside the top 10. Malbec Ramos for Tech Sport picking up that 10th place. Mike Edwards in 11th. He had some contact-filled battles. Nathan Dupuis was in the wars in a 4-car tussle in the end, trying to get into the top 5 with Emilio Delaro and Power behind. Safronis just outside of the top 10 in 16th. A lot of good pace for him today, but he also fell afoul of track limit penalties further on. Maite Caceres, as you said, in the 812, highest finishing female as well. And Massimo Sinceri, a car that was fire damaged coming into this weekend, completed both races without issue. That's a huge effort for BSI Racing.
I think for BSI across the board, I mean, you've got all 4 cars up into the top 20 after that fire came through. Massive, massive for them. Peyton Fan, a good recovery into 21st position. We saw that damage with Patrick Brunson, but he will take home the Wex Group Legends Cup today. Andrew Gilliland closely behind him. Ava Schletz 2 laps down, as was Wilson, Arujo, and Goulart. Not sure what happened there to Ethan. We'll have to go back and check that out. And a disappointing end, obviously, for Arujo, the Wex Group highest finishing legend from yesterday.
What a race, DJ. My goodness, and what a results for the man who continues to lead this championship. And there's Jeremy Fletcher out of the race car. Dejected, really frustrating day. Pushing. A lot of quick lap times, but just beyond the limit.
This was the sight we are greeted to in Texas. Bill Longhorn ready to greet us away. Plenty of drivers showing damage from yesterday, but everybody locked in and ready to go. Jeremy Fletcher led from the downbeat of this race with battles behind between Max Schweid and Spike Kohlbecker. As you can imagine, lots of bumping and banging through the field. This was the number 16 of Copeland Motorsports trying to get their way ahead. This is Ethan Ayers and Will Robusto getting a little bit side by side. Jeremy Fletcher did a great job to lead the race, but fell afoul of track limits, receiving a 13-second time penalty, allowing for this battle between Kohlbecker and Schweid to go down to the wire. It was the merest of margins, only 0.18 seconds, but it was Spike Kohlbecker claiming his 4th victory on the season. And there is your race winner. Helmet off, waiting for that Continental hat and collar to come on. Also needs a little bit of water as it is still pretty hot out there. Collar goes on, hat goes on. Got to make sure he is nice and ready. And our Amanda Busick is down on the spot with our winner.
He just told me he's going to lean against the car, and that is showcase of the battle that we saw out there for Spike Kohlbecker. And you did tell me that you were aware of the track limit penalties against Jeremy Fletcher. How did that just up the ante of what this finish meant?
It was just a crazy battle. Excuse me. Schweid and I, and just battling all the way through. And he raced me clean, I raced him clean, and there's nothing more you could ask for in racing.
Congratulations.
That is not only a very happy driver, Jonathan, that is a very hot driver as well.
Oh, he is absolutely gassed. A well-earned win. He had his hands full. He was fighting with Schweid all the way through, but a mature drive, and DJ, that's why he leads in the championship standings.
Yes, there it is. 136 points to Jeremy Fletcher's 83, Max Schweid 75. The battle really close between that second and fourth position with Robusto on 73 points. Goulart, DeLong, Maines, Ayers, Sofronis, and Nico Colby into the top 10 on debut. Again, I think there are some great things to come from this young 14-year-old.
Yeah, pretty incredible. I think he's going to be a factor later in the season. I hope we get to see him longer, but amazing for Spike Kohlbecker. Came into this weekend 32 points to the good, left with a whole lot more in a weekend that Jeremy Fletcher tried to do everything right, and still a good haul of points, but Spike Kohlbecker, just it seems that he can't be denied this season.
Fourth time's the charm for Spike Kohlbecker. But we really have to see just how the rest of this season is going to shake out. A myriad of different runs that we have to go on. And the next time that you will see all of us will be at Road Atlanta. On behalf of the broadcast team, Jonathan Grace, and myself, my name's DJ Clark. Thank you so much for watching.